Welcome to the panel where founders figure out talk. Oh man.
I hope we use this.
Welcome to the panel where founders figure out how to build a better business and a better life. I'm Justin Jackson, co-founder of Transistor.fm.
And I'm Brian Castle, founder of Builder Methods.
And today we have a surprise guest. You know him as the co-founder of Honeybadger, which is error tracking. You know him as the co-host of the Founder Quest podcast. When's that coming back? You know him as Stimpy on Twitter. Building stuff on the web since 1999. One of the OG Ruby on Rails bootstrappers. Welcome to the show, Ben Curtis.
Howdy. Happy to be here.
Woo! Dan,
all right.
Great to connect with you in person. I'm sure we've connected before through the microcomps or the Twitters or one of those. But yeah, awesome to have you on.
Remote fans, at least.
Yeah, I wanted to have Ben on the show because Ben and Josh they were one of the, besides Brian, they were one of the first bootstrappers I heard talking about using AI. And I know that Ben's been using it for some sales stuff. Maybe we'll get into that as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe actually let's start with, I was going to put this on screen. And I don't know if I can now, but one thing I need to shout out is that my mom listens to the show. I didn't realize that Mom was listening. She says she catches the live stream sometimes halfway through. So if Mom is watching, hi Mom. And last week we talked about Pulsia. Ben, have you heard of Pulsia? This viral thing? Oh, you haven't? Okay. Well, Pulsia is this, it allows you to build autonomous AI companies. And it's Rob Walling did a tweet about it. It's basically, you search your email for emails from Pulsia. You're probably getting tons of spam from Pulsia startups that are running autonomously. And my mom messaged that Pulsia spelled backwards is AI slop. I didn't even notice that.
Just the fact that your mom even knows the term AI slop is very
pretty
impressive.
Yeah, my mom's a sharp lady. Yeah, my mom's sharp.
Literally just a few days ago, my mom was asking me, okay, so if I want to use AI, like how do I use ChatGPT? I'm like, you go to chatgpt.com. Like this is, we're starting from the basics, you know?
Oh man. Well, talking about AI, I want to talk about how small teams should be using AI. And I want to start with you, Ben. How is Honeybadger using AI right now? And you can take whatever angle you want on this.
And we're using AI all over the place at Honeybadger. And, Josh and I have chatted about this a little bit. We think this is a great tool for small teams to use to try and level up and compete with larger teams because you can do so much. And you combine that with your agility that you have as a small team.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So I'll just give you for instance, and then we can go wherever you want to go. Just this morning, like a few hours ago, I was using AI to help me out with the customer service thing. And this is, I think, a great use case for small teams. Like I'm doing triage for the team on customer support requests. We have only 3 of us who can really handle, support requests because typically our requests come from developers about deep things in the application, right? It's not just like, oh, this, what's my billing issue? Usually it's a problem like, there's a bug that's happening in the pipeline. When I push this button, it doesn't work properly. So I had that this morning and had to use a report in thing. And I looked at it. I'm like, well, okay, I know it's been working because we've had other customers say it's been working. So let me dive in a bit. And I did some research on this customer and what they were looking at. And it turns out it was a source map issue. So the problem was they pushed a button to ignore errors for a limited time. And the errors were not being ignored like they should have been. And so as I dug in, I realized, oh, this is a JavaScript customer, not our usual like Ruby backend kind of stuff. And with JavaScript errors, you have source maps, which actually change the fingerprint or what the error looks like because it's enriched. And so we were doing this check before the source map was happening. And then the source map was changing the error. And then the check would then miss because it was a mismatch there. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. But what was really cool was I had this theory, and I thought I was right, but I wanted to be 100% sure because this is part of our pipeline. This is not a area of the code that we touch lightly. So, of course, I opened up Codex, and I'm like, I made my change in the code. I'm like, Codex, please review this, and here's the customer request. And I literally dumped in the thing that the customer sent me, and I said, and here's like what I think the issue is, and here's my fix. Please evaluate it. And Codex is like looking through the codes and it's like, yep, you nailed it. And it's like, but there's this other use case that you may not have considered. And it said, just in case you were thinking about this, then this won't apply to that. I'm like, perfect. I was not worried about that. Thank you. So, just dumping in a customer request into Codex or into Claude. And sometimes sometimes I don't even do the work myself. I just dump it in cold. I'm like, hey, go fix this bug for me, right? Or find it for me. And 9 times out of 10, it nails it. It's great. So,
story of my life.
That's like one of the top use cases.
Here's the error logs.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you? What UI are you using to interact with it? Like, are you interacting with Claude inside Slack yet? Have you done any of that, or is it just you're just in the command line?
Yeah, just in the command line. Yeah. Just
okay. Oh, sorry, not Claude. You're using Codex.
I actually use both. So I use Claude Code for most of the code that I write, and then Codex for most of the reviewing.
Okay. Oh, why that choice?
Separation?
Because they have slightly different models and they work a little differently, and they have blind spots. And using the two different approaches, you find those blind spots that the one doesn't have.
Yeah.
That's a question that I'm curious about. I know that there are folks like you who seem to be super deep on the nuance between the different models, and I don't know, like I'm always late, especially lately, I'm on the page that like any frontier model is just super good at not everything, but like, I just don't know exactly what are the specific things that like Opus 4.6 is better or worse than like Codex, 5.4. Where do you see those trade-offs?
Yeah, well, I'm no expert, so I can't say like, A, B, and C. But just like I've used them a lot, and you just develop this kind of sense, this kind of intuition for where one might fall short. Like Claude likes to give up kind of easily. Like it tries to one-shot a thing, right? It's like, okay, I'm done. And, you bring Codex in, and Codex digs a little deeper, and it's like, I don't think you're quite done, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, like I go back and forth between these tabs. So I have Claude do the code and Codex do a review. Then I'll bring that Codex's review back into Claude. And I'll say, hey, Claude, Codex found this. And Claude like whips up a change. It's like, okay, I'm done. I go back to Codex. I'm like, hey, Codex, Claude thinks it's done. Why don't you check again? And it'll find something else. Or it's like, well, that's not quite right. So yeah, you just get a feel for that as you work with them.
Yeah. And I guess for especially people who are really in it building stuff all day, every day, you just have so much surface area, like data points where you can get the feel. Like for me, I work on a lot of projects, but I also work on a lot of like video content or a lot of like other stuff than coding. I wish I could even do more building and more coding, but like, sometimes I struggle with like, I just don't have enough surface area day to day to know like, I tend to just default most of the time to Opus 4.6 lately, like I just use it for everything. And occasionally I'll dabble with something else, but I just don't have enough data points to see all the nuance,
Yeah. It's definitely when you spend enough time with it, you start to find where it falls down. Like we have found it's great for working on our Rails app. It's great for working on our CLI and things like that. But when we get into digging into our clients, like the code that get the gem or the Ruby library that you install in your app to send stuff, it starts to fall over there. It just doesn't have enough context to really be able to. So for instance, the other day I was working on a thing with Sidekick reporting stats to our Insights product. And we had a customer who was reporting too much. And so I was digging into that. And so Claude came up with a solution that was just wrong. It looked right, but it didn't realize that, there's this other thing that's happening inside of Rails apps that I should be aware of, that I just happen to know because I've been doing Rails apps for 20 years or whatever it is. So yeah, you do, when you spend enough time with it, you do bump up against those boundaries.
You've also been, Ben, we're going to stay on you for a second. I've got this tweet here where you say, I have an ongoing Claude code session for tracking my sales activities, helping with research, etc. I told it to self-organize. And then you said it's a better UI than any CRM I've used.
Yeah,
can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so this was started by a blog post and some tweets that Obi did, where he was talking about how he set up this system to help him manage his job as a CTO. And my system isn't anywhere as involved as his system is, but I took that as inspiration. I'm like, hey, let me just tell Claude, hey, this is what I want to do, and you organize the data the way you see fit. And that's basically what he did, and it's been great. So basically, what I do, I have my sales activities are like outreach to existing customers. So we want to get people to upsell, to use insights more, for example. And also, a little bit of cold stuff as well. So I want to do some research on, this industry. We've identified our ICP, and we want to find some more customers in that profile. So I have, various sales tasks like that. And so as I'm going through, maybe I identify, 5 or 10 customers that I want to reach out to today. And so I will use Claude, say, hey, okay, help me research this company or research this person. And it'll give me some context like, oh, they're the CTO at such and such. And this company is, however big it is. And this is their revenue, blah, blah, blah. All the stats that you'd want to have an idea of who you're talking to. And then I'll, compose an email, say, hey, you should check out Insights because of whatever. And then I'll send that to them, and then I'll go back to Claude and I'll say, okay, now I sent this email to these people, and record that for me, just log that activity. And so I keep a daily log of the things that I do. So then I can go back, the next week or whatever, and I can say, hey, Claude, who did I contact last week that I should follow up with this week? Or when I get a response, I'll go to Claude and I'll say, hey, I got a response from, Bob, and Bob said this. And so that just, over time, that memory just accumulates. And now I have a lot of context around my interactions with Bob, right? And this is what CRM systems all try to do.
Yeah.
They're all annoying to use.
Now Claude is your CRM.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Wow. Brian, because you've been doing some of this too, like with marketing stuff. Because I've been resistant to this. I've been using it for code. I've been using it to answer questions. But I haven't got I'm assuming you have a sales folder, Ben, where you're just doing all this stuff? Okay. Yeah, so Brian, how are you doing it?
I do have an example I want to talk about that I've been using recently, but I don't want us to pass over what we just heard there from Ben.
Okay.
I mean, there's this ongoing conversation. It keeps happening, this debate, is AI going to replace SaaS? I mean, this is a perfect example. You literally just described, you're not using HubSpot, you're not using Pipedrive, you're using Claude. I mean, that's your CRM. And this is the thing that I think gets lost in this debate all the time. That there's always this notion businesses are never going to just vibe code all of their SaaS replacements. That's probably true, but AI can still replace them. I mean, you don't need to vibe code an app to use Claude as your CRM, just like we just heard,
Yeah. Yeah. And I assume because Ben could set that up inside Slack where he goes at Claude, and then he has a specific full channel that connects to a specific Claude code folder, and he can just then it might even be more natural for the your chief sales executive or whatever to start using it. Maybe they can't set that up initially, but once it's set up, then you just show them how to use it, and then you're like, just keep giving it context, and then
on the sales stuff, just recently I started to spin up a process because I started recently just selling sponsorships on my YouTube channel. Sold a few recently, and I'm starting to I've had a pretty heavy stream of inbound requests over the last couple of months, and only recently I started to actually respond to them and start to sell some of them. And it's chaos in my inbox. So once I start to respond to them, now I'm in negotiations, and then I get into deals that could potentially happen. And so there are a couple of things that need to happen, right? So first of all, this is not AI, but I have some Raycast saved replies. Here are my standard rates, some standard replies that I use early on in the process. Then we get to a potential deal. We're negotiating over email. and I need to do a couple of things. I need to put together a contract for the sponsorship. So I had Claude build me a custom sponsorship contract that's like my boilerplate with all of, it's like a legal contract, like 2 or 3 pages, kind of basic. But I sell like basically 2 different types of sponsorships, and then there's selling of potential usage rights. So there's like a couple of different configurations that might get built into each unique contract. There might be a little negotiation on price. There might be a little bit variance on the schedule of the payments. There's probably some variance on, is it an integration or a dedicated video? Is it organic rights or paid usage rights? What's the term on that? So I have these template components that can be swapped in. And I built a Claude skill where all I need to do is like, okay, I have a new deal. Here's the client name. Here's the fee we agreed to. Here's the deliverable that we agreed to. Now build out the contract. And it just assembles it, and I send off the PDF.
That's cool. That's cool. See, I'm just on the verge now of, we've been talking a lot about, like, for me, the usefulness of these tools increases with the right UI. And there's just something about chatting in Slack that's different for me than chatting in like the Claude app or chatting in Claude Code. It feels more, I don't know, like even Telegram, like if chatting with a Claude bot in Telegram feels different than opening up the Claude app. I don't know why. And maybe it feels more like I'm talking to my assistant and giving instructions to my assistant. And so I'll report back on this, but I've just installed Claude in the marketing channel of Transistor Slack. Immediately, John Buda was like, "What's Claude doing in here?" And the vision in my head is there's a lot of like little tasks I would send Josh, who's primarily responsible for the website, that I think Claude Code could actually do. Like, Claude, this image isn't loading. Figure out why, fix it, issue a PR, notify us here with a preview link on Netlify. We'll go check it out. And then if it looks good, we'll approve it and you can merge it to main and it gets deployed to production. That kind of stuff, I think it's going to be interesting. And then there's this other layer on top, which is, because now you can do like recurring tasks. I don't know if you could quite set this up yet, but basically I want it to notice stuff and then suggest stuff. So, hey, I notice you're getting way more traffic to this blog post. And then I just scanned Twitter and I realized the reason you're getting more traffic is that Apple just announced a new update and you're mentioned in it. And so here's some suggestions on how what I think you should do today, and that it could be like, da, 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 da. And do you want me to do those things? And I kind of want to just try saying, yeah, and see what happens.
That's all possible. It's not like snap your fingers, it's up and running. It would take a lot of work to work out those processes, but the tooling for that type of thing, I think, is there now.
I had a fun kind of experience with that, something similar to that recently. So I follow most of my Reddit via RSS because I just don't want to spend my day sucked into Reddit. Right?
Dude, you're fucking old.
So I subscribed to the Claude Code subreddit a few weeks ago, and there's a lot of garbage, like people just complaining about limits. Like it's just kind of ridiculous. So the other day I got kind of fed up, and I'm like, went to Claude. I'm like, hey Claude, grab the RSS feed from the Claude Code subreddit, and just surface to me anything that'd be interesting, and nothing about limits. So it tried to fetch it, and of course it got rejected by Reddit. And so it's like, oh, let me build a script that fakes the user agent, right? And so it did that, and it surfaced seriously like, I don't know, 6 or 7 things that were of interest in the past 24 hours that were not anything limit related. So yeah, you definitely could do something like that where it's monitoring the stuff for you and telling you what's interesting and what you should respond to.
Yeah,
this is the biggest project that I'm involved in right now. Is It's exactly that. It's a lot of content monitoring and then content development in my pipeline. And RSS is actually interesting now because it's like, it's a tool for agents. now.
Yeah.
So I'll try to give you
transistor feeds are getting friggin' hammered right now. Like
I bet,
like
yeah.
agent traffic and people sucking down transcripts and everything else.
Yes.
It's just all getting friggin' hammered.
Yeah, my systems are sucking down this transcript right now. So like, I mean, literally. So what's also interesting about this is, again, like I'm kind of obsessed with this idea of building our own tools.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really interesting about that now is like, yes, we can spin up our own Rails apps or whatever we need to do certain things. And we can build these agent skills and they interact with each other and with us, right? So I really like this like trifecta of like custom tool for a custom interface, quote unquote, thinking work by the agent is done by Claude Code or OpenClaw with some skills, and it communicates to me usually with Telegram, you know? So like, so right now I'm building out an app. I call it like Spark Drop, and it's like a Rails app that's basically an interface for content pipeline. Like it surfaces like, how do I explain it? So like I do have a recurring agent task run through Cowork that is reading RSS feeds of tweets from like Anthropic people, from OpenAI people, from different people that I want to follow in our industry.
Okay.
It has a skill that I built in. It's also it's also reading all of my activity. So anything we publish on this podcast or on my YouTube channel or on my newsletter or my tweets, it has all that stuff captured in my files. It has my activity of what I worked on, all my GitHub activity, all my Claude Code activity captured into Markdown files. So I have all this like stuff that's like filed in my like files. My agents can read all that. They can generate ideas for potential content that I can react to, that I can then develop into drafts that I might do a YouTube video about. And then I have this custom app that like receives that stuff from my agents and presents it to me in like a series of cards that I could swipe through and be like, all right, I like that idea. Let's develop this. Let's discard that.
Yeah.
And so like, and then there's a couple more skills involved. Like, okay, I greenlit that idea. Now let's send it into a first draft. Have Claude write that, and then I go back and forth on that. So it's like multiple stages, and multiple moving parts. The app itself doesn't really have much AI into it. It's really just the interface. But there's an API that my agents can like push to. But I read it through the app, you know?
This is kind of what I want is, you know, as the co-founder of this company, really when employees come to me and bring things to my attention and I say, yay, nay, let me think about it, whatever. I kind of want Claude to just do that. Like, hey, happy Monday, Justin. Here's like 3 things I want you to either approve, think about, or whatever. And to be able to just say, oh yeah, this is perfect. Like if you're constantly bringing to my attention things that are going to move the business forward, because so much about moving a business forward is just consistently doing things, consistently moving in the right direction. So yeah, I haven't got it there yet. I don't think I'm going to install OpenClaw, but I want that.
I mean, I would like a low hanging fruit that you or any listener can start to think about is probably just reports, right? Like, so your analytics, right? Just like send you a daily report or a weekly report.
Yeah.
And maybe build into it a little bit of intelligence. Like, okay, this is unusually up or unusually down from the past few weeks, right? Like that alone is just some insight that can get you thinking. I'm like, all right, maybe I should do something different today. You know?
Yeah. Before we move on, Ben, do you have anything that's like Claude is bringing your attention to? You mentioned one. Anything else like business related that's helped move the business forward?
So I don't have an agent running just yet. I'm nervous about the whole OpenClaw thing. Although I did buy a little mini PC where I run some Claude sessions remotely via SSH and tmux. It's been fantastic. But no, I always treat Claude as like I have a question or there's something I want to know, and just start it that way.
Yeah, I think the next stage is this, like, it brings stuff up. All right, I want to talk about this Steve Shoger video I just watched. It's Steve Shoger, kind of the quiet co-founder of Tailwind CSS. If people don't know, maybe I can bring it up on screen for those of you watching. It's fascinating. It's 1 hour long. And for me, what was interesting about it is it had that thing that a great conference talk has, which is it made me excited about going and designing, like seeing how Steve thinks and then translates that thinking into basically work, but he's using Claude at the same time. So I'm going to just play a little clip from this. We'll see if this works. So you can see kind of what I'm talking about here. Let me see if I can pull this up here.
That seems fine, I think. Okay, but I want to move these around. Right now, they're just kind of positioned in the top right. So
it's got this jazz going.
I can kind of just tell it where I want it moved to. But you know what? I'm gonna have build me a little tool here, a temporary tool that I can use to move the image around myself and get it to the spot I want.
This was the part that I was like, I hadn't seen anyone do this before. So he gets Claude to build him a little tool.
Build a temporary tool so I can move the images around in the cropped area. And so I'm gonna have to do that. So build me a temporary tool so that I can move the images around in the cropped area.
That's crazy.
So I can position them exactly where I want.
There it is. Cool. There's the first.
See, now I can move this around right here.
So what I loved about this is this is a problem I've had myself, which is like, if you've ever interacted with Claude and images or designs and you're like, hey, can you just move it a little bit over here? Or so he was doing that, and he was like hitting this challenge of like moving things around. And he was just like, oh, hey, just build me an in-context tool so I could reposition it, and then I'll copy the values into Claude, and then you can keep them in place. And I loved it. It was super interesting.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch that whole thing. I want to see what he was doing with that custom tool. Yeah. Do you guys have any other like takeaways from what you guys saw in there?
Because you watched it too, right, Ben?
Yeah. I love that part because for me, like I'm not a front end person. Like I can navigate my way around CSS, but I don't spend my time there. And the idea of building a cropping scaling tool in the page, like I would never have attempted that, but with Claude, I can, right? Just like he's like, hey, build me that tool and it'll do it. And I had a similar experience recently launching a new side product called Breakwater, where I was like, I've got to build this proxy thing and I don't really want to do that. And it's like, oh, have Claude do it, right? And so instead of me spending days or weeks on it, like Claude spent 20 minutes on it and it was great. So I love that, like going from I got this friction, this frustration, I want this thing that doesn't exist yet. In his case, it was that scalar tool.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, whatever, now you've got that thing that, you would have given up on before. I love that.
Yeah. And one thing he brings up in the video, Brian, is that he's not using Figma anymore. So the only thing he uses Figma for, and again, just getting to watch a master work demystifies everything in a way that's like exciting. But yeah, so he's saying he's not designing in Figma anymore. Have you had that experience too, Brian? Like, are you just designing in Claude Code or?
It's still super, it's evolving a lot. Although Figma, like, yeah, I don't really use, okay, but in terms of like, what are we talking about here? Like if we're talking about like designing an interface for an app that I'm building, I'm not really using Figma for that. And also I never really have, even before AI. Maybe a little bit for wireframing, but like not much. I've always been more of a design in browser type person anyway. But even so, yeah, like for the last couple of months, and Design OS was built around this idea, I would use Claude to help to like spec and plan out like the product. And off of that plan, I would first have it create JSON sample data. Like based on this plan, develop a big data set of JSON to represent what a realistic set of like, based on like the models and the associations that we've been thinking about in our initial plan, put it into a data set, and then I use the sample data to have Claude design and build a front end interface around that data. That helps a lot in terms of like accuracy, because if you're building, let's say, like a dashboard, and you just say like, yeah, build a dashboard for like a CRM kind of app. Yeah, it's gonna sort of like dream up all these little bells and whistles that you're not necessarily planning on having in your app. But if you start with some sort of sample data first, that keeps it in line with like, all right, we need to build around this. Yeah. So that helps. But just last week, I did play around with the new Google Stitch tool, which I think is pretty impressive, but it's still missing a few things from the workflow standpoint, I would say, that I think they'll probably smooth out soon. It's just got that like very beta, like early product kind of stuff, but like from a quality standpoint, it was pretty impressive. Like you can just sort of like prompt it. Like what I really like about that is like it starts from the concept of like you're prompting, let AI design and present to you some options, and then you can prompt it back and give it feedback on those options. It's not, whereas Figma started as like a design tool that you click around. So I do think that in general, design, like the process of designing going forward, is going to be using these highly powerful models to prompt to be like your designer that you are directing to go do the design work. It then presents back to you drafts of an interface or of a design, whatever it is. And then you as the designer, you use your taste and your experience to say, okay, we need to tweak and refactor and edit, just like a creative director would give to like a junior designer, right?
That's the thing here. That's the thing that is so obvious. If we're talking about like our designer's going to go away, the first design that Claude Code gives Steve, like he looks at it and he goes, this is for a marketing website. And he goes, oh, that's okay. But immediately he starts to identify these things. Like, I don't know what you call that, where there's this magic ratio for text that appears, and he left aligns it, but it has a little gap on the right. And he's the one directing it. He's going, okay, well, hey, Claude, we need to, organize it this way. You calculate the math on the first line and then you move it over. And that part to me of just seeing like, okay, Claude gave us like a B or C level marketing website. Like it was like, okay. And then he just elevated it in a way that I think human expertise, it just shows like human expertise is still a thing.
Yeah, especially for design, like you really do need to have the eye for it and the experience. I mean, Steve is one of the best in the world at that, right? So it's like, a designer looks at something and like there's just going to be that immediate, like first 5 seconds, there's going to be like 5 or 6 things. It's like, okay, that's off, that's off, that's off, that's off. We need to like, there's like little like things that are just going to annoy you visually. So you just give that feedback, right? And then like it does get to a point where, I mean, lately I don't really touch much code anymore, but like, yeah, occasionally I might go in there and like tweak one Tailwind class here and there or something like that. Speaking of Figma though, I haven't tried this, but I did notice the other day that Claude shipped a Figma MCP.
Interesting.
Which, as I understand it, means you can use Claude Code or Claude to prompt into Figma. It used to be like all the Figma MCP stuff used to be like, all right, some designer created a fancy Figma mockup. Now let's convert that into HTML. Not interesting because I'm not even creating mockups in Figma anymore. But what is interesting is if I can use like my Claude Opus model to generate a really detailed design instruction that I can pipe over to Figma to essentially using like it seems like a good alternative to this Google Stitch, right? You could use Google Stitch or Claude with Figma MCP. Like that's an interesting option.
Oh, interesting. I want to change the conversation just slightly, and this one's for Ben. How much longer will websites even matter? And here's the context. I'm building my own little Ruby on Rails app, and I just asked Claude, okay, how do I want to deploy this like on DigitalOcean or something. How do I do that? And it recommended Hatchbox inside of Claude. And I asked if it could sign up for Hatchbox on its own. It couldn't quite do that. But I can imagine for Honeybadger, this is going to come up more and more as agents are going to be recommending Honeybadger. And I don't know if Honeybadger's done this, but if Honeybadger has an agent interface that allows people to sign up or whatever, just like without the person even doing anything. How much are you thinking about this?
Yeah, I think about that a lot. We have, as part of our sign up process, we do have a box where we ask people, hey, how'd you hear about us? Or do you have any thoughts for us or whatever? It's the typical onboarding kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the percentage of people that actually use that is, but we get a pretty consistent drip of people putting something in the box, and that shows up in our Slack channel, and it is always cool to read.
Yeah.
But I can say probably starting, I want to say, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 months ago, started seeing people say, hey, I heard about you through ChatGPT. Or I heard about you through Claude, because I was using Sentry and frustrated. And so I asked Claude, what's an error tracking app I should use for my Rails app? And it recommended you, so I'm trying you. And that just kind of blew us away. That's pretty awesome. But definitely there are people who are saying, but yeah, I don't want to have to sign up, right? If I'm in that Claude session, I just want to say, okay, cool, then go use Honeybadger. Set it up for me. And one of the things I've been working on for the past couple of weeks is a newer version of our API, which is geared more towards agents, so that they can do that kind of thing. Because we do have a free trial and we have freemium, so yeah, it's possible for someone to create an account and start using it without having to provide any payment information. So that's definitely something we're looking at. One of the question marks is, okay, if you open up the gates to bots, because that's basically what you're doing, right? How do you keep out the bad bots, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a solved problem yet, as far as I know.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question, Justin, about are websites necessary? I don't know that I totally buy that websites will go away from a marketing and sales perspective. But it really depends on the situation. So I'm thinking about because there definitely are situations where I'm just going to trust the agent, whatever it wants to. And we've been doing this for years, right? Where it's think about all the free libraries or free plugins and tools that the agent is probably pulling into your project, depending on how closely you're monitoring what it's doing and how close you're into the spec. It's going to choose all right, I want a markdown editor for this interface. It's going to go choose TipTap or one of these and you might know that, you might not know that. It's just going to pull it into your project, right? But that's a free thing, a library. Once you're talking about something that it's going to choose and then you need to pay for, then it's a question of how much do we need a marketing website to make that buying decision. And then you think about all the situations where it's okay, if you're a solo person, small business, you probably do want to see a marketing website and understand who you're buying from and actually make the decision. But if you're a larger business and you're giving your employee a company credit card to go do a job, do I care what tool the employee is going to choose? No. And what if that employee is an agent? If I gave it a budget to work with, if I gave it a company credit card, if it gets the job done, I don't need to know every little tool that it buys. You know?
Yeah, I'm of two minds about this. On one hand, I was surprised how quickly Claude Code recommended Hatchbox and just said, here's the instructions. I was surprised how quickly I went from seeing that to signing up and paying for it, and just because I was excited and I just want to get to deployed. And I'm also surprised how we're seeing this in Transistor as well. Maybe a year ago, recommendations from LLMs was 10, 15%. It might be up to 40, 50% now of people coming to Transistor. And there's this inherent trust there where it's Claude told me that the best, how did I say it? People can have all sorts of criteria. I want a podcast hosting company that's partly owned by a Canadian and they're bootstrappers and independent, but they give me unlimited podcasts and it's not, like they could just line up all the criteria, and then it's like, oh, well, you want transistor, da da da. I'm surprised by how fast they go from getting that response to signing up with their credit card. It's amazing.
I think it's an interesting question about like how maybe we're not there yet, but maybe we are. I don't know. It's like, how intelligent are the LLMs at product market fit? Right? Like, because, okay, we've known that like LLMs are sending us all traffic because of the same thing as like Google. Like it can scrape the web. It knows what websites are all about. So if you're asking about a thing, it'll find a relevant website based on what it has crawled and found on the surface level internet, right?
Yeah.
But that's been true for well over a year, 2 years, 3 years. Now, these tools have so much data from so many users. So I wonder if it knows that if I am a person in software and SaaS and bootstrapping based on all its memory that it has about me and my preferences and what I'm asking about, and it knows that guys like Justin recently asked about similar tools and had favorable responses about particular tools, is it going to use that sort of memory data intelligence to recommend tools to me?
Well, dude,
you know what I'm saying?
I just asked live, what's the best error tracking for Ruby on Rails apps? Look at how it responds. So it gives me Sentry. It's a popular choice. But then it says, Honeybadger is a favorite among indie bootstrap teams. Relevant to you, ! It's simpler than Sentry, reasonably priced, and the Honeybadger gem is dead simple to set up. Also includes uptime monitoring and check-ins. And then he's like, at the end, Claude is like, my take for a bootstrap SaaS like Transistor. I've given it no other context, just all of my history. Honeybadger is the number one. So, and even what it says, word of mouth favorite in the indie Rails community. Like, so it just intuitively knows that a company like mine is going to like Honeybadger. That's kind of crazy.
Yep.
It's
that reminds me of Seth Godin, right? People like us do things like this. Yeah.
More relevant than ever. Are you doing anything to try to optimize for that, Ben? Have you gotten into any AI SEO yet, or?
Well, yes, we have.
You're actually doing it right now because the LLMs are going to pull this in.
Yep.
But yeah, so a couple of things we've done. So when we started noticing that, and yeah, you actually reminded me that it's been longer than 6 months. It has been like a year or something since ChatGPT started recommending us. I forgot about that. But yeah, some things that we've done, and they're into, as we noticed, that is publishing LLMs.txt and publishing LLM-full.txt. And
I haven't
recently, go check that out. There's more. And then recently we've also added a markdown variant for all of our documentation pages and surfaced that. So yeah, trying to make it easier for the agents to get the information they need to make a good recommendation to someone. And on the Bootstrap indie Rails community thing, yeah, we've definitely done some marketing around that. If you go to our website and you poke around a bit, you'll see some evidence of us, putting that message out there, like this is who we are, and if you're like us, then you'll love a tool like ours.
The other thing I would recommend for Honeybadger is you have this accumulated reputation, like you have been around a long time. I think one thing that all indie companies need to be doing is prompting their customers to go out and say things about us more often. So that could be at the end of every email newsletter, say, hey, Honeybadger's a small team. Reviews on Trustpilot are more important than ever. Please go give us a Trustpilot review. Here's a nice one from Nancy from last week. Just a little prompt like that. But even like the next time, because you guys are great at events. Honeybadger is kind of renowned for like putting together a little event at a Rails conference or whatever. At the end, when everyone's had a great time, they've all got their Honeybadger shirt, say, hey, everyone, all we ask in return for this is if you just go and say something nice about Honeybadger or this event on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. And this is all getting fed, like we saw in Claude, it's getting fed into the LLMs. And all of these LLMs, but also Google search and Bing, they're looking for human signal that this thing is a real thing and people want it, you know? So I think I think established companies like Honeybadger actually have a great opportunity because you have this corpus of reputation that you can kind of rely on.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I've seen come up, this has come up in both Clarity Flow and a little bit now in Builder Methods, is like, it's great that customers are definitely discovering it through the LLMs and they're saying so. But then they also ask the LLMs about like current pricing, and then they're like, what about this free plan? Well, we don't have a free plan. We did at one point, but not now. Oh, but ChatGPT told me you do. Well, like there are, especially like with Clarity Flow, where you get a few like lesser. They think everything that comes out of ChatGPT is true, So it's like
they get mad at you,
or like customer support stuff or how it works. It's like, well, it told me how to do this thing, or does it have this feature or that feature? Well, maybe we shipped something last week that the LLMs haven't caught up to yet, and that kind of thing happens sometimes.
Yeah. All right, to close us off, I want to give each of us an opportunity to give an update on something cool we're working on, something we're launching. It could be whatever you want. I'll go first, and so you guys can think about what you want to talk about. Transistor is building video podcast hosting. We are just cranking on it. One of the things that we are trying to do is now seed the LLMs with this new knowledge. Previously, they might have said, if people asked, does Transistor do video podcasting, it would have gotten one answer. But now the answer is yes, Transistor does video podcast hosting.
Wait, you haven't shipped this since last week? What's going on? I thought you guys were using Cloud Code.
We haven't shipped it, but we were one of only like 5 hosting platforms to actually get a HLS powered video show in Apple Podcasts. We're the only one that also put that HLS feed in the alternate enclosure tag and RSS feeds so that apps like Pocket Casts and Fountain and all these independent apps can also read those HLS video feeds. I'm having so much fun. I'm super excited. And we also just launched a integration with Ghost. So it feels like we're just shipping right now. And it's crazy. There's way too many messages in Slack every day, but I'm having a good time. So that's what we're doing.
I saw that Ghost integration announcement. That looks pretty solid.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really fun to add another team to our Slack. Like we did the Slack Connect, and just to interact with another team and see how they build things. I think it was good for our team just to see how much they're using Claude. And
yeah, I know like John O'Nolan is big into it and everything. Like I'm just curious, like, how did that perform for you guys? Like an integration like that? Do you see a spike in users? Or?
We'll see. I mean, my thought is it'll probably give us an extra, I don't know, even if we got an extra 10 to 20 a month from it, it would be a success. More of a slow burn.
I'm sure it's a long tail thing.
Yeah, I think it just gives us tons of reputation in the community, though. Like, so many of the big indie publishers are using Ghost, and we had a lot of shared customers like 404 Media and The Lever. So there's these big indie publications that are doing really well, both using Ghost and Transistor. So it was like, well, let's just marry this. And it's another advantage to going to events. Like that was me going to Laracon in Dallas, and then John O'Nolan and I were just eating lunch going, man, we got a lot of the same customers. Like, we got to do something here.
Sweet.
Yeah. What about you, Ben? What's something you're working on or launching soon?
So, we've been doing a lot of work on Insights, our structured logging portion of our product. And that's still relatively new. And one of the features that we've had requests come in for is S3 archiving. So that customers can send their logs to Honeybadger and have them do the querying and set what they want to do there and charting and so on and alarming, and then have them shuffled off to S3 as well so that they can have this long-term archive. A lot of compliance requirements. You want to keep stuff around for a year, but you don't want to keep necessarily in Honeybadger for a year. You don't need it there. You don't care about it anymore. But so that's a thing we're working on that should be coming out in the next few weeks. We're pretty excited about. And then I already mentioned the API for agents. So just trying to make things better for teams who are using these tools.
Yeah. Did the insights thing, like that feature you just mentioned, did that come from customers asking for it, or were you just like, this would be a good idea?
So the insights, it came from, this is something that we want.
Okay.
Because if you have your errors here, you have your uptime checks here, why not have other application events also here correlated with, what was going on in my application around the time this error happened, right? Well, if you have your logs, if we have your events, then we can tell you. And so, yeah, it was definitely like something we really wanted ourselves. And so we built it.
Sweet.
You sort of mentioned something offhand a little while ago, like another product that you're working on. What was that?
So that's Breakwater. So that was over the Christmas break. So one of the things we have is we have customers who want to purchase Honeybadger for a self-hosted deployment, right? And so we have, 6 or 8, whatever, Docker containers that make up the Honeybadger stack. And so we want to deliver those Docker images to a customer so they can run it themselves. And what do you need to be able to do that? Well, you need a way to authenticate who can have access to your Docker images, right? And so this was like a project that I had on my to-do list for a while. And I just kind of like, it's kind of annoying. I don't want to deal with it. And then I was like, over Christmas, I was like, but what if I made it a product? Then it's a lot more interesting, right? So I whipped up Claude, of course. And that's when the Claude, like the Opus really, the December time period with those, they really got better. And so I just jumped into Claude Code. I'm like, hey, let's build this thing, right? And so over a few weeks, it came to be. And so basically what it is, the platform where if you are distributing Docker containers to your customers, then this is your authentication layer. So you can set up what products you want to sell. You can set up who has access to those Docker containers, and then you can specify like what kind of tag versions, like maybe they get V1, but they don't get V2. So it was basically a scratch my itch kind of thing where I wanted to say, hey, I want an authentication layer in front of my Docker registry so that I can limit it to just my customers who are paying for it.
Super cool. Have you started to promote this to your Honeybadger user base?
Not yet. That's probably coming soon.
Nice.
Yeah. That's cool. You've done the thing that we all have been thinking about, which is I'm just going to build another project beside my other project and see what happens.
The Christmas break project, the Christmas break product launch.
Yeah,
that everyone does.
All right, Brian. Before we leave here, what's going on over in your world, man?
I've been noodling on the idea of maybe hiring a producer to work with me on my YouTube channel. I do already work with a video editor. I'm up in the air on this question of actually, let me call this thing out. I've been a fan of Marquez Brownlee's YouTube channel for a long time. Massive YouTuber in the world doing tech reviews. But he recently did a couple of interviews, and he has this other channel that's behind the scenes of his YouTube channel, and they show his studio of a team of 20 people, all super creative, super high caliber people. And I love how literally the only metric that they try to optimize for is how can we make the next video just freaking awesome? From on all the angles, on all the creativity levers. How can we just keep pulling these levers and try to outdo ourselves creatively?
Yeah.
There's always going to be the topic selection that's super important, and the messaging and the relevance and all that. But as a creative, I'm just really inspired by that sort of thing. So there's that side of it, and I'm also really struggling with time management. As YouTube is extremely important to my business, but it's eating up multiple days of my week and my creative energy, and I would like to be building more and serving my membership more of those days. So I'm always going to be involved in YouTube, of course, but I wonder if somehow finding a higher level, higher caliber creative collaborator to work with me on the YouTube channel in some sort of producer role. And I'm a little unclear what that might even look like. But that's an open question that I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Having somebody who's really proactive and smart and really good at what they do. It's that same thing I was talking about. If you could show up on Monday and in Claude, someone's brought up something, but if you could show up on Monday and have a producer say, okay, Brian, we're going to make the next video incredible. Here's some things I thought about over the weekend, and we're going to set it up this way. That would be so helpful.
like that's the thing, because I've been spending all my time hacking on how can we use like Claude agents and process tools and stuff and how can I streamline my process to finish a script and then get the recording done and hand it off to the editor and have a process for him to do it, and we can publish it in 48 hours. Like we've just been hacking on that process over and over again. And my editor is good, but he's just a video editor that follows the process, takes the files out of Dropbox and gets them cut up. But like you said, like it would be nice to work with somebody who is just thinking about like just creative ideas all the time. And I would like to experiment with new formats and throw different ideas visually and video content wise at the wall, and work with somebody who can sort of roll with that stuff. And I still want to come to the table with the ideas and the message that I want to say and show, but I kind of just want to do that, show up on camera, and then somebody else think about all the other creative elements.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing I'm surprised about is how few pitches I get from people proactively, not bots or like spam emails or whatever, but just proactively saying like, hey, like Brian, I know your content. I know and I'm really good at what I do. And I could do this for you. Right. And that's kind of like what you want all the time. But I'm surprised, like we get
that's why
like
I talk about it here.
Yeah. So, and to be clear, of course, you could shoot your shot and Brian could say no. But really thinking through, trying to pinpoint what is the boss's problem? Like what do they actually want? Because what I usually see is people misdiagnose it. They're like, oh, I could do this for you. I'm like, no, I don't care about that. And you almost want them to kind of preemptively know what am I actually struggling with, and can you actually help? You know?
Yep.
And I think the truth is there's just not that many good workers in the world. Like either they're all hiding or they're all employed, they're probably all employed. But to have somebody that's proactively like, hey, I know this is going to help you.
Yeah, and we're also at a time right now. We've been talking about this for weeks on the show about like how do you make yourself more valuable in this world with AI and all these different things. And I think we are at this point now where it's just like, if you're high caliber in whatever you do, you need to be adaptable. Like you need to that's probably the best advantage that you can demonstrate now is that you can use your own chops and show how, like, I would love to work with someone who is just who's got years of chops when it comes to video content or photography and visuals and motion graphics. Like that would be amazing to work with someone. But then they should be of a caliber that when you work with me for a few weeks, you're going to start to naturally become an expert in Claude code and agentic building, and you're going to start to you might not be a coder today, but since you're working with me and then you can start to know the topic space even better and become an even more valuable producer. You know what I mean? Like just kind of shift into these spaces.
Yep. All right. Send your pitches to Brian. I got to go. I got to go help my son pick out a suit for grad. Ben, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
We will have you back. I'm going to try to get Josh on here at some point as well. Folks, go check out founderquestpodcast.com. They haven't posted an episode since January 3rd, but that episode and that conversation was what got me thinking about AI. And I think the episode is Will AI Replace Developers? Really good episode, highly recommended.
Yeah, I've been a fan of that podcast for years. It's really good. Obviously, you guys talk tech, but it's entertaining too. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's very good. And of course, go sign up for Honeybadger.io. We are happy customers at Transistor. Just an excellent product run by the best people.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Later, folks.